Toastmasters, Madam Toastmaster. I want to start with a quote. Those who can do and those who can teach. And that is George Bernard Shaw from Men and Superman. I actually did not hear that quote from there. I actually heard it from a TV show called Scandal, and Olivia Pope fixed other scandals, and she ended up being in a scandal herself, and she had to become a teacher, and so someone used that quote for her. And I like to say I disagree with that quote, because within 5 years of starting your teaching profession, 50% of teachers quit, and I'm in year 11. So this speech is my second speech titled Shifting Gears, and I am interviewing at brokerages. So the purpose of this is to convince you to hire me. So I could start with the obvious. Teachers are organized. Teachers are decision makers. Teachers have passion. However, I want to share with you a story to show you all of this. So how many of you in here have ever been locked up in a room, in a car, in an elevator? Anyone? Okay. So have I. Try being locked in a classroom with over 40 students that are 10 years old. So I was working at a campus that was extremely dated. It was built in the 1960s on the north side of Houston. I won't say the name. And I had this door, and progressively it kept getting worse. So it would lock, and when I tried to unlock it, I would have to jiggle it a little bit. I had a little system going, so I would go to the left, go to the right, and it would eventually open. Now this day in particular, of course I have 40 students that needed to go to the restroom. So I was like, okay everyone, let's line up and go to the restroom. We go to the door, and I jiggle it, nothing happens. So then I'm like, okay. And then I tried kicking the door, because I knew the door I had issues for 2 years. So that obviously didn't work. So I had all the students sit down, and I had them read a book temporarily. So I was looking around the classroom to figure out how am I going to get out of this classroom, but I also have kids in here, so I have to be very discreet. So I looked up by the door, there's windows, but they're like 7 to 9 feet tall. I was like, I could climb up there, but if I jump out, I'm gonna break a bone. So I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. So then I turned around, and the adjacent wall was full of windows, kind of like this room here. But I was like, I went up to the window, and then I tried to open it, and I realized they were all bolted shut. And then on top of that, I didn't even pay attention, there were burglar bars on there. Now that's a story for another day. So, needless to say, I could not get out at all. So I called the front office to inquire if they can hire a locksmith, and they insisted on sending a custodian. I was like, no, that's not gonna work. A custodian can't fix this, I'm telling you. So they sent the custodian, he couldn't do anything. They sent the head custodian, she couldn't do anything. She called someone from the district, and they couldn't do anything. And finally they had to call a locksmith. We could listen to the teacher. So as we were waiting on the locksmith, I had a decision to make. So I had to choose between allowing myself and the students to panic, or I could do what I do best, teach. So I chose the latter. So while we're locked in the classroom, needing to go to the restroom, I go through my whole lesson. I read aloud, I teach reading, I taught writing, taught social studies, we did independent work. By the time the locksmith finished, it was time to go home. And by the end of the day, my principal relieved me, and she was like, wow, I can't believe you were teaching. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going home now. So I didn't even clock out, I just left. But I'm sharing this story not to say that, oh, I'm a hero, teachers are heroes, but to show you how much passion teachers do have. That story showed leadership. I had to think on my feet. I had to think about other people, so it showed selflessness. I had to think about my students and their mental health and their well-being. And I put my well-being to the side as well. And then I also continued to teach. So they didn't know anything was wrong until towards the end when they were getting a little bit anxious. And so I want us to remember the quote, those who can do and those who can't teach. Well, I hope today that not only this quote will be considered to be invalid, but I want you to know that my education career has taught me valuable skills that will help me to be an exemplary real estate agent.